All right, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, I guess. This is the App Builder Study Group. We're covering security today, so it's 10% of the exam covers the two topics that you're going to hear today. Matt and Carla are presenting on security features and capability, and then security sharing solutions. So that'll be interesting. I'm kind of curious how you structured that one, Carla. So that'll be fun to
I
get to
just
see.
did
So,
I just did like a quiz. Like I just made a slideshow
perfect.
of a bunch of questions that we'll
Yeah,
just walk through as a group. So that's all I did.
fantastic. All right, with that, I will stop sharing, Matt, and I'll let you take over. You've got plenty of time here today, so I assume so. With just the
Hey
two.
Terry, this is Karthik. Quick
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Are we doing external objects? We had minor discussion last week. Are we doing external objects to this week or next week?
Um, are you prepared to speak on them?
Yeah, it's very
We,
straightforward. Yes,
okay.
but
We
if you want to do it next week, I'm okay. I should have
let's.
asked you in an email,
Oh,
but
that's
I
great. No, I
missed.
appreciate it. So let's see how we do on time today. If you're prepared,
Sure,
let's see if we can get it in today. Then I know
sure.
we kind of briefly talked about it off the top of our head last week, but let's see if you've got something ready. I'd love to actually go through it officially. So that'd be fantastic.
Sure. If not next week.
All right, very good. All right, and Matt, you should be able to share and kick us off today.
Good. Sounds good. I might have gone a little bit into the sharing solutions, so I will stop when I am done with the features.
That sounds
So,
good.
It's okay.
trying to get this screen to maximum. Let's see.
I think you were close to hit the present button at the top right.
Oh, right there. There we
Yep.
go. All of these point and clicks, sometimes I don't know. The problem with point and click is sometimes you don't know what the clicks do. As alluded to before, this is the first security bullet point, which describes the features and capabilities that are available to restrict and extend object, record, and field access. It touches a little bit on the sharing solutions, or I would say that this bullet point touches a little bit on sharing solutions, because that's definitely a way to extend record access. I would definitely say with the features and capabilities, you're seeing some more of the systematic approach. And I would say it's primarily the profiles and permission sets. So the agenda for the presentation, we're gonna look at the first one is the bullet point just stated. We'll look a little bit more at how profiles and permission sets can be used for base level access, how record access is controlled. There's a lot of things that come over from the admin credential. And then we can talk about restricting and opening record access to specific users. And then finally, we can look at the field level security. Those tended to be the 5 overlay of how things are structured. And so we were looking at going into how you can extend the object access and the record access. For object access, and this is given like accounts, contacts, is done through the profiles and permission sets. You can give the cred, which is the create, read, edit, and delete privileges. And then you can also do modify and view all, which then override a lot of the sharing settings. And one of the things to keep in mind with this is I think one of the tough problems with security is seeing how all the different like permissions interact with each other. And so that seemed to be something that could be utilized. I'll create test questions later this week, but that would be my guess where Salesforce would be looking to test is how like your field security settings are going to be interacting with your object access and record access. For your records, they are generally controlled by the organization-wide defaults. And generally, this is the only way that we're wanting to able to restrict access because all of the other methods are essentially granting access gradually. The sharing rules and the role hierarchy can be used to grant additional access. For the speaker for the sharing rules, do you go into the role hierarchy? Is that part?
I'm just doing, I guess my line item in the spreadsheet was given a set of scenarios, what are the recommended solutions. So mine is really just a bunch of questions. I have like 20 questions. If we get through them, we get through them, but I just, yeah, so that's all I'm doing. So you can talk about all of the access and stuff like that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. And then the record access is everyone's a Salesforce professional. This essentially is just your security for being able to look at who can view other people's information. When I was at the Salvation Army, like with the nonprofit, everyone could see everyone else. In a sales environment at truck stop, things were much more restricted. You didn't want your sales reps to be able to see competing sales reps information. And then the final third over one is the field level access, which is controlled by the profile, but then you can give additional access with the permission sets. And these are only like on this section are defined as like the view all or as visible or read only. More specifically with the profiles, it depends what actions the user is able to take on a specific object, and they do not override the sharing model or the role hierarchy. So I could definitely see that being a section like granting someone a profile. Does the organization-wide defaults get overridden? And then only certain settings can be changed on a standard profile. This is a special case. And so you're able to clone with that component. And then the permissions on objects are given as stated before. But it's primarily that the profiles are also determining your access to tabs and apps within Salesforce.
Hey, Matt,
yes.
Terry, just jump back to that previous slide. There's one thing that I want to, and Carla, correct me if I am misstating this, but I believe this is going to be an accurate statement. Modify all and view all will override organization-wide defaults.
Okay.
Just as an FYI there. That is one exception to that rule.
Okay. I can put that as a bullet point in it. I'll modify the slides afterwards, but that's definitely
no worries.
And that would be a good Salesforce question as well.
Yeah, those are two settings that I absolutely hate.
Yes.
I kind of wish they weren't there, but there are certain use cases where they do make sense, but there's very, very few times that I will ever use view all and modify all for that very reason.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And then the general tab settings, let me know if this is a lot of review. Like just the 3 tab settings that you can set for the default are it's on, which means that people can see the object. It's off, that they would have to go in and manually make it visible, and then tab hidden, which is the object is essentially not visible for the individual or the user.
One thing to keep in mind for tab settings would be if you don't have access to the object and default on is set, you still won't see it just because you don't have access to the object. So not having access to the object does affect tab settings.
Okay. No, that would definitely make sense. Then with permission sets, again, they're another way in which you can extend access to the objects or grant access to more objects. they enable granting specific permissions. As before, the permissions are the CRED and then the view all, modify all. One of the benefits with users is that you can kind of incrementally give access to users to certain objects by having multiple permission sets. However, that is not a best practice. And then some specifics of it is there are object and field permissions tabs and then the visual force pages. And you can also assign the permission set through a user list view. Then I was trying to just provide more of a visual reinforcement. Just sometimes when I'm going through like the study guides and trailheads, like I can see a lot of different terminology, but I have no idea where it is within Salesforce then. So this was just, you can also create permission set groups so that if a group of users needs similar access, then you can just create one group and assign the same level of permissions. It also, I thought, was important to look at the difference between the profiles and the permission sets. Users can only have one profile, but as I stated before, they can have multiple permission sets. The profiles grant minimum permissions, and then the permission sets are used to extend access within the org. And then besides the objects, you have specific record access within Salesforce. And so this would be, in my mind, like a subset of what composes an object. For example, like various contacts or various accounts or opportunities. The initial organization-wide defaults determine whether or not a user can see records that are not their own. The main thing I'm trying to get through on this slide is that the OID is the most restrictive, and then with profiles, permission sets, and then also the sharing rules, you're gradually extending the access to that. These are some of the more of the specific with organization-wide defaults. With the different permissions, I wanted to just list these, what they can see on other ones, like with the public read write transfer. They can pretty much look at other individuals' records and then edit them. And then they're a little more restrictive with the read write and the read only. And then private, obviously, you cannot see other users' records. And then the controlled by the parent is analogous to the role hierarchy. There were some notes that Focus on Force had wanted to say, just with some of the master detail relationships, like within standard objects can't be changed, but that had been covered within the a previous slide deck. One of the other ways that they look at sharing records or granting records to other individuals is with the role hierarchy. And that essentially is, they wanted to emphasize it is not a, like an organizational hierarchy, it's more of a data hierarchy. However, there's a large correspondence between the role hierarchy and the, often with the government or organizational structure. And the most common one is like a manager and the employees, like for a sales rep or for a customer service rep. And so usually the default is that the individuals higher up in the role hierarchy are able to see the records that are contained by the users in positions below them. However, it does not override the object access within Salesforce. There was also, similar to like manager group permissions, there is the ability to allow users to share records with a management change. And this would be utilized within the sense when the data role hierarchy doesn't necessarily correspond specifically to the for the organizational role structure. Another way that was mentioned to be sharing the records is public groups and queues. And a lot of times with like the public groups, this would just be similar to creating a group of individuals like on an opportunity team and such, and essentially being able to share records with individuals that are working on a specified team. And then the queues also then can be assigned as a mechanism to allocate different records to individuals within the organization, for example, cases and leads being the most prominent ones. And then so that, I guess, looks more at the security. If the next person isn't doing the sharing rules, I can look a little bit at the sharing rules in this presentation. It can be allowed to grant users specific records, whereas like the role hierarchy and the organization-wide defaults have this overarching structure, universal structure. You can use the sharing rules to allocate very specific records to another user. And then it can also be utilized with like territory management and such, was a mechanism that was considered a sharing rule.
You want to
go ahead.
that one real quick?
Yeah.
So territory management is a feature that you do have to enable if you're going to use it. It operates very similar to your role hierarchy. It's just like an additional role hierarchy that you can leverage. So that's why you see that in there. I would anticipate that you would see questions on an exam related to what are the types of ways you can share or groups you can share a sharing rule with, or you can maybe define it. I'm getting the words all goofy here, but when you're setting up a sharing rule, there's certain types of entities that you can share them with. And so your first bullet point there is a very good one, and I would anticipate people taking this exam would need to know.
Okay, and I can highlight that after the presentation.
Again, I don't know exactly what's on the exam. I'm just theorizing that if I were writing it, that would be an obvious question right there.
Oh yeah, no, and I definitely agree with that. Let me see. So with the manual sharing, this I think is a little bit more straightforward. You can share certain records with the sharing button. This can only be done in Salesforce Classic and not Lightning. I wanted to just keep it in just in case, but I could see this as a area that's going to be phased out as more users adopt Lightning.
I think what we'll see is it will come into Lightning. And in
Okay.
fact, I already see that they've got the button available in Lightning, but I've not seen it functioning yet. So, but
So
manual sharing, yeah, manual sharing. I can't imagine it would go away because that's your one-off exceptions to the rules where I may want to share a record specifically with Cole because he and I are working on a project together. But I wouldn't otherwise share all of my records with him. That might be an example where you'd use manual sharing.
Sure. No, that would make sense. Or you're collaborating on I guess I use the sales team quite a bit, but like if you're a sales rep and you're working on like an account that's you're collaborating on a specific project, like you were saying. And then the final component that they had wanted to talk about within the security components was the field level security. And this is the most specific, which is it controls visibility to data at the field level. It can be set in both either the profiles and the permission sets. And then it can also have that the user can't edit it, or it's just not visible to them. However, if it's not visible, you can still find them within searches. And that was is on the second bullet point. But the other thing to keep in mind is with the field security, that it shows up on it affects certain things like the record detail pages, list views, reports, etc. And it's also, I thought, important. I could see this being a much more an exam question as well. The most restrictive field access settings, if there's conflicting ones, is applied. So I could easily see that being an exam question for the security question. And even the last one, a field that's required in a page layout but is only read level remains only read level, and it overrides the page layout security. And then the other one I wanted to point out was the field level securities. It does not prevent them from popping up with searching on values. And then these last two slides, I'm not going to go over them specifically. I just included them for when you guys are self-studying. There's both the record access and the profile summary for you guys to utilize. And then wanted to include just some resources that I had found helpful. There were a couple sections from the developer documentation. And if you click on the links, those will direct you to the website. I found Focus on Force really helpful. And then the other one is I am utilizing this practical Salesforce development without code book is being really useful as well.
Very nice.
And then I will stop sharing.
One of the things that when I went through admin training class, I actually did the class with Salesforce when I first got my very first certification, and the instructor's name, I forget her name now. She's but she's still an instructor, and I think she's awesome. I just can't come up with her name off the top of my head. Anyway, one of the things that she said that really stuck with me, that helped me understand the difference between profiles and roles, is she took the first letter of each of those. So profiles is permissions. They both start with the letter P. And then roles is records. So, and so that helped kind of solidify for me a little bit of the differences. Now there's certainly some areas where that's not 100% true. With almost all of this stuff, there's an exception with security, which is why it sometimes is fairly complex to get our heads wrapped around. But that was one little trick that I always found helpful when I thought about roles and profiles. Roles is records, profiles is permission. So with that, Carla, I'll let you take over next.
Yeah, I took a class too for my first certification. It was a study group kind of like this, and we all presented and things like that. The trainer, or the leader that we had, she said something similar, but profiles and permission sets were what the access, what did she say? I just had it in my head. What you can do with what you can see, like it's what you can do with the records you can see. Yes. Whereas like OWDs and roles and things are like what you can actually access. So like record based. So I like the P and the R though, that's helpful.
Yeah, I did want to mention one other thing before you got started. And there's this new concept that has been floating around the ecosystem, and I was trying to find the exact words for it, but it's there. The idea is this minimally defined profile where we move more to where we have significantly fewer profiles that are created, and we're moving more into a model where it's all permission set based. So you may have a lot more permission sets and fewer profiles. I couldn't put my hands on it real quick. It's been something I've been hearing for maybe the last couple of months. So it might be an interesting concept for you to look up. It won't be on the exam. It's way too new for the exam, but it's an interesting thought that may be of value.
Yeah, Terry, I think I saw something where they're really leveraging the permission set groups to get away from profiles. That's what I'm seeing out there.
That's what I'm hearing too. In fact, what I heard on it was that brand new orgs are actually coming with a predefined minimal profile already created for you, and they're pushing this concept of permission set. So yeah, thanks for that confirmation, Nicole.
How new are permission set groups, Terry? Do you know? And would they
permission set groups? Yeah, that's
19, winter 19.
Yeah, that just came out.
Okay, so do you think it would be on this exam?
No, because this exam, well, it depends on when they take it. This exam was just refreshed.
Okay.
I don't know if it's live yet, the refresh, or not, but so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, as long as you're aware of it and you know what they are and how
permission set groups, yeah.
you should be good.
right. It is exactly what it sounds like.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
So if you see something that says permission set group, it's valid.
Yep. Let's see here. Sure. So my line item in the spreadsheet was just given a set of requirements or a set of, oh my gosh, everything is eluding my brain right now.
We'll blame the pregnancy.
Oh my gosh,
Scenarios.
Baby brain is the worst. Yes, given a scenario, what is the best solution? So I took that as to mean like, let's do a mock exam type, so I got a bunch of questions. I will say that I stole or took them. I know this is recorded, but that's why I'm citing my source. I took these from that certification aid website. So
that's a great website.
There was like 20 or 22 questions on there. So we'll get through some, maybe not all of them. And let me share my screen here a second. So I thought that would be the best way to tackle this. Okay, actually I can't present yet because I haven't shared my screen. I may get through this. Really struggling today. Okay, sharing screen. And, okay, can you see the first slide? Okay. I don't know the best way to do this, Terry, if people just want to shout out an answer or discuss it or me call on people. I don't know if y'all are going to be quiet or not, so.
I know, when we've done this before, nobody talks to us, so
I know.
Let's call on names.
Okay, I can call on people, that's fine. And the other thing I wanted to point out too is that security is what, 10% of the test. I think it's very heavily weighted on the admin test. So if you're just coming off your admin test, some of this should be old hat, but also I think it's really heavy on the advanced admin stuff. So
yeah.
I don't think that some of this goes into very much detail, but it's only 10%. So, okay. So Trail Outfitters created a custom object to track expenses. Expense records should only be visible to the respective owners and the users above in the organization hierarchy. Which sharing settings could achieve this? Choose two.
B and C.
Oh, Tanner.
Sorry.
I was going to call on people, Tanner.
Sorry.
That's okay. What do you got, B and C?
That was my knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, that's okay. But you're right.
Oh. All right, I'm good for the rest of the time.
Role hierarchy and organization, org-wide default as private. If anybody have any questions or need explanation, but I'll just move on if not. So speak up if you do want to talk about it. Okay? Good? Okay. Which permission settings define whether users can create, read, edit, and delete objects? Choose 2. Maybe I'll call on somebody if nobody says anything. So go ahead. Meredith, what you got?
A and B.
Oh, we got B, one of them. D is the other one. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the P.
The P's, right? The P's.
Yep, it's the P, it's the permission. Yeah. Do you want an explanation on that?
Sure.
And you'd answered what, A and
Yeah, because
A
I
and B?
thought at the org-wide defaults you set whether it's private or.
Yeah,
Oh.
this is one of those where you
the
have to read
object.
the question really carefully because and security questions can get you like this very easily. What they're asking very specifically is create, read, edit, delete. So that's your CRUD settings, which your org-wide defaults, you can make things read only, or it's more of a visibility in
Right.
org-wide. So org-wide defaults don't give you the ability to grant somebody delete access, for example. You can make it read only, or you can hide it, or make it read write. But even then, it's still going to go back to the permission that they have on their profile.
Yep, or permission set. Yep.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Good try.
Yep. Trail outfitters implemented a role hierarchy to limit contact record visibility. However, a user is not able to see any changes regarding their contact visibility. What are the possible reasons for this? Choose 2. I'll give you a second to read it. Anybody want to give it a shot?
I would guess B and D.
Trying to understand the question still.
Yeah.
No, I
agree. B and D.
B and D? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, B and D.
Woo! Good. Now you can explain the question to me.
Yeah. Explain how you got there, Tanner and Scott.
I'm kidding. Go ahead. You can move on.
Or it was just a good guess. Okay, we can move on.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah. I think it was that view all permission that we were talking about earlier. So they can they put a role hierarchy in place to limit the contact record visibility, but the user saying it's not limited any. They're saying I can still see what I used to be able to see.
Oh, gotcha. I was reading it the other way. Yeah, I was reading it the other way where they couldn't see it. And it's like, I'm not sure.
Okay, that makes sense, but. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I was confused the same way too.
Okay.
Okay. All right, cool. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would have been one, and you'd had to mark me as a miss. I misread the question.
That's okay. All right.
All right.
Trail Outfitter shares account records based on sharing rules. However, business administrators with a separate profile should have access to all account records independent from sharing rules. How can this be achieved? Choose 1. It's a tricky wording.
Would it be A?
Yay. Ding, ding, ding. Yep. That was just like, and this is the same thing on like all exams, right? It's that wording. Just knowing that the view all isn't a system permission eliminates D, things like that. So it's kind of semantically, right? Tricky. Trail Outfitters wants to enable multiple sales reps to collaborate on the same opportunity. So the org-wide default of opportunities is set to private, and sales reps decide on an ad hoc basis who to collaborate with. Which sharing setting can achieve this? Choose 1.
I know.
A.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's that? Somebody say something. Okay.
I agreed. I
Okay.
disagreed. Yeah.
When I read the question on the website that I'm borrowing from, it just said teams. So I didn't.
But you could use account teams for the same thing. In fact, when I read it, that's what my mind went immediately to, account teams. It wasn't an option, so it had to be opportunity teams.
So they were right. I just didn't think it was. I thought it was kind of ambiguous. But account teams would
Yeah, when
show opportunities as well?
Yeah,
because it's a part of the setting.
Yeah, account teams, I believe the 3 that it shows is the account cases, I think, and opportunities.
Contacts as well.
Is it contacts? Is cases on there too? Is it 4? It's all 4. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
So
Good.
teams would have been the correct way to, and I did mess with this question a little bit.
No, well, good. I like it.
Okay. Trail Outfitters wants to ensure that opportunities are only visible to their owners and the users above them in the organization hierarchy. Which sharing setting could achieve this? Choose 2.
A and D.
Yes, that is correct. D would be first, or define a role hierarchy and check grant access using hierarchies. Oh yeah, so either way. Okay. Trail Outfitters set the org-wide default for accounts to private. Account owners should be able to grant other users access to their accounts at their own discretion. How can this be achieved? Choose 1.
You might have to pick somebody.
Yeah, I struggled with it. We haven't heard from Lori. Lori, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Got a suggestion on this one?
I'm leaning towards D, except I don't know if that's in the settings on the account object.
I don't believe.
Not
Yeah, no, it's good. I like it when we get them wrong because then we get to talk about them.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking exactly right though, Lori. That you're going down the right path with the security settings comment there. It isn't. That's what makes that one certainly inaccurate.
Right.
Is that very thing, and a lot of times that's the sort of thing on these questions on all of the exams that sometimes you can eliminate things just based off of what you know to not be true,
right?
And that can get you down to where maybe it's 1 of 2 now as opposed to 1 of 4,
right?
And that can sometimes help. What I was expecting the answer to be is not there, but the correct answer.
Shall I try?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm thinking B, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I've narrowed it down to B or C.
Okay.
It is C.
It is C. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's not automatic. That's nice to know.
I thought the same thing actually. I did think it was B as well because I wasn't quite sure, and it's been a while since I've worked with manual sharing, so I couldn't quite remember. But you have to add
it. Yeah, it doesn't automatically add it.
I wasn't sure either. So that was a good one.
Is in the exam too, the questions are like just like this tricky?
Well,
Yes.
Yes.
All right. There you go. What
exam is a miserable experience.
No.
I wouldn't. So I've helped write some of the questions on some exams, and one of the things that they tell us is that the answers have to be a viable answer. It can't just be something like, well, we can't just add the sky is blue in there as B, because it's like, well, duh, that's not even relevant.
Right.
So they do have to, when we create the answers, the potential answers, they have to be something that you could look at and think, wow, that's might make sense. Right. Kind of like D there, where the security settings, well, that makes that wrong on the account object. But it's viable.
Right, right. That's why I kind of liked these questions, because I felt like they represented
it's a great website.
Closely to what I've experienced taking exams to be like.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good way to go.
Yeah.
Which website is this?
What's that?
Which website is this from?
Certification Aid.
Do we need to have a subscription?
No, actually, some of them are locked down, but the Platform App Builder one wasn't locked down. So
that's nice.
There's a study guide in there and an entire practice exam.
Yeah, and if you're
awesome.
if you're doing your presentations and want a great place to get some good insight, they've got a nice outline for all of the topics as well. So it's a good resource.
I think Terry put the link in the spreadsheet somewhere.
It is in our spreadsheet, yeah.
Yep. So if you do take the practice exam, you'll get the section all correct if we get through all the questions.
Very good.
Just an FYI on the previous question. So on this in security settings, we never have anything related to objects. Anything related to the objects will be in the object itself.
Anything related to objects would be in the profile or permission set. Is that what you mean?
Means my intent is not in. My intent is to say it's not.
Yes.
There won't be anything specific related to object things in the security settings. Generally, it will have organization security settings.
Oh, gotcha.
Organization,
yeah, but not specific to an object.
Yeah.
So
the
in order to rule it out,
profiles,
in order to rule that option out.
Yep.
Yep, I'm tracking with you. That makes sense.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna go to the next one.
Thanks, Claire.
Yeah. Trail outfitters want to track performance reviews about employees in Salesforce. However, performance review records should only be visible to the concerned employees and their managers. How can this be achieved? Choose one.
Role hierarchy?
Yeah, role hierarchy. Straightforward.
Yeah.
I didn't like this question, so we might need to throw it out.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, what?
I know, I thought the same thing, and I thought role hierarchy would work too. So maybe just throw this one out, because I thought the same thing. Because that would be hard to do manual sharing if you have 500 employees.
Oh, absolutely would be, yeah.
Like, it didn't seem achievable to me.
Yeah, I would just be curious as to the why behind that.
Right.
I wonder if
manual sharing.
I wonder if it's concerning the employees and their managers. I wonder if it is only supposed to go up one level or something, if that was their intent.
That's what I wondered too.
But,
and
so therefore, it can go to me, manager's manager.
Right.
So that top
even
person doesn't see it. But even then, they should be able to see it.
They'd still see it though, wouldn't they?
Yeah, this one's a weird
yeah, I think I don't agree with that answer either. I would have gone with role hierarchy.
Yeah, I would agree.
And one other thing, guys, we are all assuming that every organization are following roles as it's supposed to be, but seriously, it's not. What happened is, in my organization, they set up role hierarchy in 2014, and every year things change. No one pay attention to it.
Sure.
So in the question, they did not really say the role hierarchy got set up. So if we have that feature, it does not mean that that's there. That's why I think they said manual sharing.
I would agree with that, but I would say too that the exam is going to assume some of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Or they would tell you in the question. So
yeah,
That was always the hardest part for me when taking some of these exams is whenever I read the questions, I always want to ask a couple other questions in order to clarify.
That's the consulting here.
How do you do X? How are you managing this part of it? It's like, yeah, you can't. You have to just go with what you got and not overthink them.
Right.
I do have a question, but like the role hierarchy, it doesn't go, so if a manager creates a performance review, role hierarchy would go down to everybody that's under him. So maybe that's why it's manual sharing, that the manager makes a performance review and then manually shares it with the one employee.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh, maybe that's what they're asking.
That's a really good point.
Because that's what, when I read the question, I felt the same thing too. But I felt there won't be anyone below the employee. That's why I thought. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, repeat that scenario. I think you're right.
The manager is the one making the performance review. And if it's shared role hierarchy, it would share down to all employees. But instead, it just needs to go to the one specific employee.
A user is going to create their own.
Yeah.
Right. An employee wouldn't create the performance review. The manager would be the one creating the performance.
So they would own it. And so they'd be the record owner and they would share it manually with their employees.
They're sharing it down. They're not sharing it up. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You're on to something, Taylor.
I think you got it.
Yep, I think that's it.
Cool. Good thing we're recording this.
Right.
This question would have been thrown out.
It's good discussion.
It would have been rewritten. All right.
Good discussion though. Trail Outfitters wants to prevent opportunities from being deleted by any user except for system admins. Which permission setting could achieve this? Choose one.
B?
B.
Yep. I mean, that's pretty straightforward, I think. Okay. Trail Outfitters created a custom object with org-wide default private to track employee feedback. There are multiple role hierarchy levels, and the CEO should be able to view all feedback records. Which sharing setting could achieve this? Choose one.
Role hierarchy, right? They can see everything.
D.
CEOs
Yeah.
will be
The assumption that that's already been established and set up.
Right, but wouldn't everybody on the way up to the CEO be able to see it too?
But
does it say they can't?
Yeah, it did not say they can't. It just said.
But it says
should.
Yeah, that's the point. Is at this point in the scenario, the CEO should be able to view all. We don't know about everybody in between, so that would be.
Doesn't say they
If
can't.
that's the case, yeah. If that's the case, I'd go C. Yeah, I was. Yeah, when Carla started doing those call outs, I knew D wasn't the right answer.
Right. I think that was the point.
But that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was just the granular detail in the question, or lack thereof.
But they did not mention that they should not see, so I was not sure.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But okay.
What's that?
I really don't like seeing sharing roles that are set up defined for an individual person.
I agree.
So architecturally, I would not structure that way. That might be one of those exceptions where I might use a view all on that particular object and set up a permission set for it and assigning to that permission set too. So I might would have gone with E, a different approach.
Well, there was none of the mentioned.
Yeah, right.
So A.
Yeah, that's right. Right. A, a different way.
I thought you said you wish that didn't exist, Terry.
What's that?
You said you wish that didn't exist.
I know that there are very, very few exceptions where I would ever use that view all and modify all. And what I really don't like is in profiles, they give you that ability to assign a profile to modify all and view all. And it does it. It sets that on every object in the entire system. It's like, crap. When you do that by mistake and you have to go back and fix it, that's a nightmare. But here's why I don't like it. I've been in too many orgs where people have tried to set up security and they do their org-wide, they make it a private org and then they create all these different sharing roles. And then they go into profiles and set the view all or modify all because most of the time because somebody couldn't get to a record that they thought they should have been able to get to. And it's purely because it's like they take it as a default answer. Let's just go. I'm tired of trying to figure out the right way to do it. So let's just check modify all and view all as kind of the cop out. And I don't like seeing that. That's generally when I run into people going to that view all and modify all. Again, there are exceptions to the rule. But yeah, I don't like it.
So we have 6 minutes left. Do you want to do another one, or do you want to go to your?
Let's do one more, and then Karthik, I'll put you on the schedule for next week to hit the external objects.
Okay.
I'm good. Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. There we go. I didn't want to show the answer by mistake. So Trail Outfitters wants to allow all users to view course records, but only the course management department should be able to update them. How can this be achieved? Choose two.
Is it B and D?
No.
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 C. C.
Yeah. B and C. So, for all fields on the course object. So it's talking about the fields in letter D, in option D, and not the actual records themselves. Cool. Awesome. I think there were quite a few more I got there.
I have a quick question. Actually.
Yeah.
When they, like some of these questions that they say choose two, is it usually like you need to do these two things to achieve it? Or is it sometimes like either one of these can achieve the same outcome?
I think either one. In my experience, most of the time it's, I feel like you have to do both of those steps, but sometimes there is like, it could be either or. You agree?
In this question, Carla, how can, if we set org-wide, the second option B, public read-only, then how can they make the update?
Letter C gives read and edit to that profile for the course management folks.
Then in this question,
it
needs to, B and C makes an answer.
Yes.
B and C alone cannot be an, so that's the question someone just asked.
Yeah.
Choose two. So I was under the impression that either B or C makes an answer individually.
Nope. So that, I think Tyler asked the question.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times it is both things have to be done in order to answer the question.
So why does C not answer the question on its own?
Yeah, that's what I felt too. C can answer the question on its own without B.
Oh. Well, the org-wide default would allow everyone to see it, to see those records.
But if we C also has that making read for all the profiles, can also do that.
Oh,
could be private.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, it could be private.
If it's private, then not everyone can view it.
That's true.
It's one of those, you assume that it's already public, but
but you have to choose two. So
sure. Yeah.
But I do think on the admin exam there were questions like this where it could be the answer was two different ways to achieve the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have both.
I don't think it's always that you need both of them.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I remember too.
Yep. No, good discussion, guys. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll give it back to Terry here.
All right, Terry's trying to get our
Oh.
assignments updated over here since, so let me share again. And, all right, so for next week, man, I can't believe it's already July.
Yeah.
So Karthik, we'll have you present first next week on those external objects, since
Sure.
you have that ready to go. And then we'll start jumping into the business logic process automation. And so I'll talk about record types. And Matt, are you good with talking about formula fields? And then if you want to work ahead at all, you certainly can work ahead, Tyler, Scott, and Lori, if you want to hit those next topics. All right, any questions before we?
Hey, Terry.
Are we adding Cole into the?
Yeah, I will bring him into that mix. I need to, yes, we will. Yes, yes.
Is there any way I can go on the 16th instead of the 9th?
Absolutely. Is that Lori?
Yeah, that was Lori.
Yep. In fact, I might then just slide Cole into that spot then and move you to the next one. So that would be on the 16th, Lori, it would be given a set of business requirements, recommend a solution to automate business processes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Terry.
Yeah, so that'll probably, you could probably run that one very similar to the way Carla did hers with questions with a Q&A.
Okay, cool.
Anybody else have questions or issues with that schedule, the timing of where you're placed?
Yeah.
All right, so tomorrow.
Are you sharing the recordings?
What's that?
Are you posting recordings somewhere?
Yes. Yep. All the recordings are posted on YouTube.
Okay, the same channel. The initially you sent me. I just need to verify, check the new videos in the channel.
Yes. Yes.
Got it. Can you share this Excel? I don't know whether I missed that email, but
yeah, if you don't have access to the Google Drive that this is on, I can get that to you as well. But yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Do you need my Google email address?
Yes, I've got it. I think I'm pretty sure I do. If I don't, I'll reach out and touch base with you on it. Now we don't. I don't share the slides or the Google Drive publicly with people who just go out and watch it on YouTube. I get people asking that all the time, and I have not ever shared our actual material publicly. So
or just share the Excel sheet just to make sure.
I will. All right.
Whichever you're comfortable to share.
All right. If you have any questions or need any help with your topic, please reach out to Carla or I, and we'll help you with the process. So tomorrow is Trailhead DX. Hopefully many of you will be able to at least be a part of some of those sessions tomorrow. That'll be an awesome learning experience. It's nice that it's free, so it's certainly more accessible. So that's fantastic. All right, we ran over. I apologize. We will see you next week.
Thanks, Terry.